Welcome to It's All Fine and Dangy, where we talk about community, health, culture, and all of the big and little things that make life good. Here are your hosts, Dan and Angie.
Hello, hello. Or shall I say good morning, because that's the time we are recording this.
Bright and early this time.
Very bright and early.
Morning is here. I won't do it.
Morning is here. Morning is here. If any of you watch Friends, you know what that's from. I'm a Friends junkie. We all know that.
Yes, we do. You've made me one, kind of.
Kind of. But what's really cool is I was flicking through Prime Video the other day. I was watching some documentaries. Well, that didn't happen. I was looking for documentaries to watch.
Right.
I found Rules of Engagement.
I know. I'm so happy that you found that. That is amazing.
Yes. But it only goes up to it goes to season 2 and then you got to buy it. So, but at least you get some kind of fix in there.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sitcoms. I know it's old now, but I love that one.
Yeah, it's good. So what's been up? Last Saturday, the Saturday before this recording.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, that's right. We went and interviewed somebody else for one of the podcasts.
That's right.
And then we said, we're going to make a day of it. And we got a restaurant suggestion from Becky, who's going to be coming up on the show.
Yep.
And went out to eat, which was very nice. And then went to the beach. And as soon as we got to the beach, the rain hit. Because
that's right.
I
made a YouTube video of that.
You should remember.
Yeah.
Because, we live in Florida. We don't know that it rains at 3:00 every day. Duh.
It's hit or miss. It's hit or miss because I was able to mow yesterday and it didn't rain, but I did make a video of that. You helped me. We're starting to sort of vlog a little more now, so we're gonna regularly do that. But we did put a video of that up on the website, so if you want to check that out,
yeah,
pretty funny.
And I stayed up till about 1:30 in the morning last night.
Oh, I tried,
and I did it. I completed it. I have to make just a few more tweaks today. That is my final capstone presentation, which is kind of like your thesis. I don't like to call it a thesis because I think a thesis is more for like a university, like a big scale university.
Right.
I'm not really sure what the difference is, but still kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see you do it tonight.
Yeah, so I finished up the PowerPoint last night. I'm pretty happy with it. My PowerPoint is very colorful and fun.
Yeah.
Because I get very bored looking at PowerPoints.
Sure.
And I want to kill people when there's too many words up on the PowerPoint. I'm not going to lie. All my professors will know that. They know. Angie's going to have a fun PowerPoint. Okay?
Well, I'm
it's basically going to look like a little kid threw up on the PowerPoint.
No, I think it looks really nice. Honestly, I think it looks professional, but I think it also looks fun, and I'm excited to film it tonight.
And I think it shows my personality.
I do too.
Right? And that's what it's about. So my capstone is educational. Won't bore you too much with any of the details. There's not, a ton of, oh my gosh, more information. I think it's more motivational because that's kind of where I want it to end.
You know what would be cool? I'm going to mention this on the air, so we have to do it. But it would be cool if you ran through the slides doing a screen recording after you do your capstone, like tomorrow or later or this weekend or something. If you ran through that and then you narrated it, and let me put it together as a video and throw it up on our channel because it's very educational and we talk about health and wellness. We're not like saturating the show with that, which I like, but I really think there'd be value in that because there's a lot of good information that you're sharing during that.
Yeah.
And it not to ruin it, but
and it's very relevant to everybody. So also, I'll save the details for if we do that, but it's very relevant. It's something that affects everybody, and it's a change that needs to be made.
Well, I think you could say it's about the American Standard Diet because
American Diet.
Sorry, the
sad diet,
standard American, but I think
and lifestyle because I go into that too.
It's a little bit shocking the way that you've done it, so I think that would be really cool.
Shock and awe, baby. Yeah. That's what I'm up for. I want impact.
But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see you do it. I think you're going to do a great job.
And then this past weekend, we were supposed to sit down and start wedding planning. We got like a few things written on a spreadsheet.
Well, I think that's a good start, though, because I know you've looked at some apps and we've gone to some places, but I guess I'm a spreadsheet guy. But when you can see the line items and which ones we've sort of covered, your little check box is done, how much it's going to cost, I think it starts.
I'm going to keep the app too because I like
Sure.
I like the setup of the app. You know what I mean? But I'll go in and tweak the spreadsheet too.
Yeah, we're getting started though. I think if we keep focused on it, we'll get it going.
Angie's too cheap. So when I see the price of things, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to make my own flower arrangement. Hobby Lobby.
Oh, goodness. Well, that'll be nice, I'm sure.
So what's up with you?
Well, I'm getting ready to leave for Houston. I think I got to look. It feels like it's next week, but I think I still have like 2 weeks.
Couple weeks.
And then the immediate week after that, I'm in Chicago. So it's going to be busy. I'm excited though. Big IT summit for on the day job company side of things in our corporate office in Chicago. I'll be going to our Houston office the week before that to talk about some developing business and stuff there. And then I'm going to Autodesk University in Vegas next month. Oh, November.
No, November.
November for a week.
Yeah, because it's usually right around my birthday.
This year it's not.
Yeah, it's usually the week of like the 11th.
Yeah.
And then this year we found out it's the week after. Yeah. So yay.
So I'm kind of excited. I mean, I don't like to be away from home that much, but especially for the whole week. And everybody says, "Oh, you're going to Vegas, poor you." And I don't mean to sound like it's such a fuddy-duddy, but
I'm right there with you. You know how I was in Vegas.
But I've gone probably 8 times maybe. And I don't gamble. I really don't care about the strip. I do love the hiking and the Grand Canyon type stuff. I won't really have time to do that this year. So for me, I go to the convention. We go to some business dinners. I go back to the hotel and do some work. And it's then the next day's the same. And then so it's fun, but not in the way that people think Vegas.
It's fun because it's like, it's different scenery.
Yeah.
There's a buzz around your industry when you're there. You know what I mean? And you have no one but people to talk to that are totally into it.
Right. And for those of you that are like, what is it? What is he talking about? Autodesk. Well, Autodesk is the company that makes all of the software for architectural design, engineering, that kind of stuff. And that's the business I'm in. But also, they also make all the software for all the CG computer graphics that you see in all the movies, all the Avengers movies, all the special effects that you see, they're all done in their software. So in this convention, you have all of these people from all these different walks of life that use their software. And it's really neat. So anyway, I'm preparing for travel.
Well, they put on like a party, and I mean, they make it like a concert.
They really do. They really do.
I went with you before.
Yeah, you did. We went and did the Grand Canyon and all the fun stuff. And I would love to do that again at some point. I really want to go hiking, which we didn't really do.
I wanted to go in the helicopter in the Grand Canyon, but somebody wouldn't go with me.
I can film you from the ground. You could film from the air, and then I could cut it together like an air and ground shot.
It looks so fun.
Anyway, speaking of video, I did help you a little bit with your project this past weekend.
Yes,
and you sent me on a mission.
Thank you very much.
Angie sent me on a mission to go film a drive-through, and I don't want to ruin part of the her presentation, but I will say this. Filming the drive-through of a fast food place, I did like a time lapse over the course of a half an hour, and sort of little sneak preview of her project, but the amount of people that go through, and I picked the worst one. I didn't have their sign in it or anything, but I picked the worst fast food place. They're all bad for you, but I picked the worst of the worst. And for a half an hour, it is solid. There's never a break. It is solid cars. So that just tells you how.
And that was on a Sunday afternoon at like 4:30.
Right. That tells you how sort of addicted they've got everybody. I mean, It is tragic.
Well, addicted, and we live in such a high-paced, on-the-go society. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah. Oh, myself included.
You're out and about. Who brings food?
Well, you know what?
We've got to be more prepared. We got to treat ourselves better. That needs to be something that is very ordinarily, or it needs to be the unordinary.
Yeah.
It needs to be not the norm that we just, I'm going to grab something quick. Oh, I'm going to grab something, whatever's healthy off the menu. Guys, really, there's nothing healthy off the menu. Yeah. I'm here to tell you.
Right.
Even the things that look healthy, some hidden little gems in there for you, I'm telling you.
And a couple of things I've learned, not to bore everyone, but a couple of things I've learned from you is that literally 95% of the stuff that you get out, if it's cooked in vegetable oil, which immediately makes it bad for you. Mm-hmm. So that's something we can get into in another episode, but I would love for you to give us all a few tips on a few things that maybe you can put together and eat fast, because that is my dilemma too. I get a 15-minute lunch break most of the time, especially when I'm working from home. And 15 minutes means you have to sort of pre-prep your food.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up eating like a cereal bar, or even like me, if I'm trying to be healthy, and even that isn't healthy. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Prep is the biggest thing.
Pre-prep.
We've got to make time for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, indeed.
You got to start making it a family thing on Sundays, or you just got to commit some time to it.
We do.
Look, people, this is what I do for a living. I love it because I get to be in a kitchen for 8, sometimes 12 hours a day now prepping for families, which I don't complain about one time because I love it. It's fun.
Of course.
But I understand how it is grueling, but there are some simple tips. And in the future, I'll put some tips on there. Maybe when we post the video, like you said, I'll put some tips on there where they can put a link.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, they can always visit my page, Forever in Health. I'm starting to get that kind of rolling now that I'm going to be done with school. So there will be easy recipes that are on there. And that's a great idea, though, because I do focus on meal prep. I think I need to have a meal prep tip page.
I think so, too. I think I would personally use it, actually.
Yeah.
Speaking of all the extra time that we have, and I was just... before we started recording the show, I was just talking about when are we going back out on the kayaks? But we have to get going on our Halloween costumes.
Dude, it's almost September.
I know.
Like, what in the hay?
We're going to do like we always do. We like to say that we work on our costumes for months leading up, but really it's like a couple of things we do. And then the month before we go into like ultra panic mode, and it always works out beautifully. So, but we're getting into that zone where we've got to get going on our costumes.
Well, I did stop by a thrift store yesterday on my way back. Oh, I forgot to mention something. I started a new part-time job.
Yeah.
With My Favorite Things. We've mentioned them on the air before.
Well, you didn't forget to mention that because this is the first show that we've had since then. Oh, you mean at the beginning of the show?
Oh, at the beginning, yeah. So My Favorite Things, it is a crafting company that one of my clients, Kim, owns. And I'm doing like some customer service. What is it called? Answering
ticketing.
Tickets.
Yeah, almost like I think of it like the service desk because of my business. It's customer service
to me, so it's like I'm talking to people through the computer. So I've been doing some training with Brianna.
Yep.
She's my type of trainer. She moves fast, but I got to slow her down a little bit sometimes. Oh, what was that one again? Okay. But she moves on. Like, don't dwell on something that's super easy. Yeah. Okay, got it.
I've seen her work. She's very efficient. Yeah. And of course, I know Kim and Brianna and Martin, and that whole family is great. The company is great. I've always been so thrilled about their success story, which maybe we'll be able to have her on to talk about. And I'm also helping her put together a podcast.
Yes, I'm so excited.
It'll be their own podcast, but I'm kind of helping them.
And I never would have said yes to work for them because computer work is not really my thing.
Yeah.
But because of the dynamic of I've done some side work for her, and I've done some little events for her where I've prepped some food and stuff. Because of seeing the dynamic of how everybody works together there. Yeah. That's the reason I was like, oh yeah, I could get on board with that.
Oh, no doubt.
It's a great team. Yeah, it is. Seriously.
And I just without getting into the details, over the years, I've known her, I've known about the company, and everything I've ever seen or heard is it's a one-of-a-kind kind of...
I think so.
The vibe they have, the culture that she's sort of developed with it, between the rapport of everyone that works there. Yeah. It's really like a family. A lot of companies say that, but this is really...
No, it is.
Like a family.
It's a cool environment.
Yeah, so I'm excited for you.
It's very work-driven, but, everybody knows their place, but it's just, there's a feel that you get, right? And I get that feeling there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited for you. And I'm excited for me to be able to kind of help them get the podcast going too.
I know, I am too. That's going to turn out great.
Potentially some commercials for them. So
yes.
Anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I really want to hear how it goes. And it's neat to see you sitting in sort of service desk software because that's been my life for 20 years.
I'll be sitting and standing.
Oh, true. Well, that's it for this and that. And we'll be right back with the community call out.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It is time for our community call out, and we are continuing our hashtag Month of Teachers theme with teachers from all different levels of education. So today we get a glimpse into higher education.
The hard stuff.
With a local college teacher, and I would like to welcome Miss Michel Sanden. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Came right from school to be here, didn't you?
I did.
Awesome.
That's a long day.
That is a long
Very
day.
long day.
Yes, and Saturdays are a long day, right? Like
From 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I don't do that
That's
class.
relatable.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe a little personal, a little professional, whatever you'd like to share with our audience.
Well, I have lived in Orlando for a little over 10 years. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan.
Wow.
Have lived in Indianapolis.
Michigan girl here.
Yeah. And typical growing up story. Went to Michigan State, but didn't finish. Moved to help a student organization at Purdue, which is where I got married to my husband.
Oh, nice.
So that was a good move then.
Yes.
All right.
And he and I together have had 7 kids.
Oh, goodness.
That's a busy life.
It's full.
Yes.
We've homeschooled our children. They're all
Excellent.
grown now, and we're expecting our 3rd grandchild.
Oh, and how old
Awesome.
is your youngest, if you don't mind me
My
asking?
youngest child?
Yes, youngest
20.
child. Okay.
About youngest grandchild.
He's 1. About to be born in November.
Oh, wow.
That's the new one coming.
That's brand new.
So that will be the 3rd one, right?
Yes.
So-
First girl.
And homeschooling all of them. That's pretty impressive.
Well, so I'm going to ask questions that I know Angie already knows the answers to, but this will be
Maybe,
good for our
kinda.
audience and for me because I've purposely been left in the dark here. So I think it'll be a more organic conversation. But can you tell us what you teach now and whether or not you've taught other things in the past and maybe where you teach if you're comfortable talking about that or if you want to share that information?
Okay. Well, first of all, I did not get my graduate degree. I graduated in September of 2017. So
Wow, recent. Yeah.
Yep.
you could never stop learning.
Of course.
And
Love
so
that. Yeah.
up to that point, I couldn't teach higher ed, but now I can.
Mm-hmm.
And so I teach at Everglades University here in Maitland.
Right?
I have taught at University of Central Florida. There I taught TESOL, English as a second language.
Oh, okay.
I remember you talking about that.
And then
That's
now I
great.
also teach online. I teach at a school called Bryan and Stratton College. And then I volunteer at a school called University of the People, whose goal is to bring education to the world. So
Oh, very nice. So
that
what do
one's
you
really cool. You talked about that in class a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to hear more about it. But what do you teach at Everglades University?
I teach Composition 1 and 2. I teach speech and American literature.
Oh,
His
all the
face
stuff
lit
I
up.
love. Yeah.
So, and I teach business writing mostly at Bryan and Stratton, and then at University of the People, English 1 and 2, writing and research, and they have a world literature course.
So that's almost like history then, isn't it?
It's still literature. Literature and history are kind of
Hand in
hand
hand.
in
We-
hand.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
married.
We talked
to each
about that a
other.
little bit earlier, and I always wondered why I was always a not so good at math, but I just whizzed through English kid. But for some reason, history and social studies, I kind of felt like that too. Like it's reading still, it's still
Yeah.
stories, it's just true stories, you know? So I get that. I get the connection.
And I avoided it at all costs.
You were a math kid?
I was math.
It's a left brain, right brain thing, isn't it? Math
More.
and English.
So who likes the English? Is that like creative people?
Some.
Yeah, but not always.
That-
My husband's good at writing, and he's more of a math kind of person.
Look at
He's
that.
creative as well.
Is it?
I guess it
Well,
can be.
you know what? We talked about that too. We talked a little bit about some of the programs like the, help me out here. Science, STEAM.
STEM. Oh,
STEM and STEAM. And the STEAM, including the A for art. We talked a little bit about, there's not that it's always conflict, but there's organizations out there that either go with one or the other most of the time. And there's a debate on whether or not art belongs in that. Of course, as an artist, I feel like it does, but you could easily see that business writing or technical writing, that all requires a creative element. It is absolutely a sort of a math and science, sort of category, but it requires that creative piece. So
yeah, that was interesting when you looked that up.
Yeah.
About how art actually fits into that.
It does.
That area. So when in your life did you discover this love for teaching? Not just your children, since you homeschooled, but for teaching others. Like, when was that? Was there an aha moment? Was this something you knew very, very early in life? Tell us about that.
I think I was born to be a teacher.
We talked about that earlier.
Why
I think
makes
people
sense.
are
Why
born
I
that
think
way.
that my mom was a single mom, and she had a daycare, and one of her favorite stories, sometimes much to my chagrin, was every summer I would line up all the kids outside in a schoolish fashion. I would make worksheets for them, and I would school them. She said summers were great because I was there schooling the
Take it
kids.
over.
She didn't have to work much. She just sat back and let you do it.
So
cool.
I've always enjoyed teaching. In 9th grade, one of my teachers, my algebra teacher, she found out I played the piano and wanted me to teach her daughter piano lessons. And so that was my first formal job. And we've moved from there.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's very cool.
I think
What a fun first job, though.
yeah, no doubt.
Making money doing something that you probably liked doing, right?
Indeed.
And then you got to actually throw that teaching element in there at such a young age. That was cool.
Well, we've talked about how, and this is my belief, and I think, this is a common belief, but good teachers, I think, are born to teach. I think anyone can teach, but if you think back in life about the teachers that you remember, at least for me and most people I know, it's a select few teachers that you remember throughout your life because those are the ones that made a connection with you. Those were the born teachers.
Exactly.
The rest of them, and I'm not disparaging anyone, but the rest of them are maybe trained to teach, but they didn't make that connection with, at least with me anyway.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference when somebody has a passion about something. You know that from being a teacher and hearing when people turn a paper in or get up and give the presentation in class, you can tell when they're actually passionate about something and when it's like, here you go. Here's a paper. You got it. You want it.
Well, my feeling.
Or you want it. You got it.
Passion and enthusiasm are required for anything to be of any value, no matter what it is you're into. That's my feeling.
Yep.
So did you always know that you wanted to teach English-based stuff? And is there other stuff that you want to, or if you've considered teaching in the future that you kind of want to get into?
I went to Michigan State, signed up as a teacher, English teacher.
Right.
I switched to music, and
there's math.
No. I've been playing the piano since I was a little girl. And I enjoyed being a music major, but I didn't graduate.
Yeah.
And so
what I meant by math is, music is math.
They say that.
Yeah.
She's like,
it's funny that you say that because I've always read and heard that. And I've been a drummer for years, in rock bands and stuff. I haven't done it in 10 years, maybe, but I was always terrible at math. And I remember in our accounting and finance department at my office, they would say, how do you play the drums if you're not good at math? So I agree with you. Maybe technically there's a connection, but I don't feel it in my brain either. It just kind of flows maybe the same way piano flows for you.
Maybe. I will say I think math is also an age maturity thing, and sometimes algebra and things like that are introduced at an age when some people aren't ready for them. Because as I was tutoring my own kids, I was like, wow, that's how that works. I never understood it until I was actually working with them.
You might be onto something. What I've said for me is, and I know for my daughter, sometimes I think that it's the anxiety about math that made me not so good at it. Because you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't understand. And then it starts becoming
it snowballs
like a block.
Yeah. So speaking of maturity, the school that you teach at, where I go, there's a lot of mature students there,
Indeed.
right? So what do you find most rewarding / challenging about teaching us adults who've decided to pursue higher education maybe a little later in life?
So the most exciting thing as a teacher, and it doesn't really matter what age you are, that I enjoy the most is waking up passion and helping people discover what they might be capable of.
Yeah, that's great.
So as a writing teacher, nobody wants to take my class. And as an American literature class teacher, almost nobody wants to take it. In fact, one student told me he was using the books as his bookends.
Really? That's crazy to me.
At the end of the class, he thought he might read a little in them too. So,
okay, great.
So I love waking up. I love waking up the idea that you can be successful at higher education. You can be successful at a new career. You can be successful at new endeavors, even if it's not work. It's challenging. Technology is challenging for people coming back to school, and they have to get on a learning system and
platform
and try to type out a paper. And some are hunt and peck people.
Right.
And I have had a couple handwritten, turned in papers.
Oh Lordy.
And
you're talking to an IT director, so I'm cringing over here. But
you got to understand that some of the people who come to school in person, they're coming in person because the technology is intimidating.
Sure.
And so you just have to really help them find tools to manage the new IT world.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like a platform you go on, kind of how the high schoolers do virtual. You have a spot where you have to, kind of communicate with your class that way. Now, I came to school because I like interaction. I like to see your face when you're teaching me something. Like, does this person really know what they're talking about?
Right.
Like, and really, I need to see you. So I'm more of I'm a people person. So I wanted to be there because I knew online I get very distracted by the things around me.
Yeah, that's probably common.
I got to do that laundry over there. Oh, look, I need to go do this. So I'm very distracted. So I don't stay honed in enough.
So, Michelle, that something you just said really struck me. I hadn't thought of before, maybe because of the world I live in and the generation I'm from, but it never really dawned on me that, I love the idea of people coming back to school when they're older and getting the opportunity to realize that they do have options and they can change their career and be successful. But what never dawned on me really is that people are sort of outside of any sort of technology. And that intimidation is kind of what's preventing them from doing anything because it's in every job now.
Indeed. Sometimes they don't think they can.
Yeah.
And
so I never thought about that because, even my parents, my grandparents, we've sort of brought them into getting them a computer, that kind of stuff. So you don't think about the fact that there's a lot of people that don't have a connection to someone that's going to help them learn how to use technology. And then it becomes like a wall of fear, I guess, on how to proceed.
So when it comes to this, what would you like to see more or less of when it comes to, because you're seeing that people are struggling maybe with that. What would you like to see the schools doing to help people that are coming in at I won't say older, seasoned age.
Yeah, sure.
But coming in a little later in life, what do you think schools could do to kind of help with that?
I think if it's a in-person or on-campus school, having a point person that they can actually go to, and that person will walk them through what they need to do. They won't do their homework for them, but they will just step them through what they need to do over and over and over again, and invite them to come back over and over and over again. So they're not intimidated like, I already asked. Instead, they're like, they said I could come back.
Like a counselor almost?
More of a tutor type.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say not a tutor per se, but
not even a faculty
facilitator.
so much. It would be, I would say it would be somebody
a learning coach, maybe.
Yeah.
We have health coaches. Why
That's
not learning
right.
coaches?
Yeah,
that's
that'd
a good
be
point.
awesome because and maybe it could even be somebody that volunteered their time that has been to school already. Almost like how, schools have alumni association. Maybe that's something that's coordinated. That
might be.
Yeah, that would be a great thing to have. I know. I wish I would have had that because, like we just talked about, APA format, and if nobody knows what that means, just look it up. Just Google it. But I didn't know how to write one of those papers. I had been to school, so many years ago. We didn't use that. I don't think, anyway. I don't remember. But we never had like any classes to they had courses, but they didn't say you have to go take this. Like let's make you take it so that you do know how to write a paper the correct way for your professor. So your professor or your teacher isn't saying, what is this? What?
Well, I think that goes back to the technology sphere a little bit again, because one of the things I think I take for granted, and a lot of us take for granted, is just like IT. IT is really just, you learn the techie stuff, but the bulk of the job is knowing how to go find the answer to stuff on the internet. So when you say stuff like, I don't know the writing format, in my head, I'm like, yeah, you could find it in 5 minutes, but some people can't. So that's I guess it makes life more tricky. And on that note, in your time in higher education, have you seen sort of changes in the technology side of things? Or, it sounds like everyone's working on a technology platform of some kind to turn in assignments.
We call them LMSs.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's a learning
management system or something like that? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's different. Even on campus, schools have LMS systems that they use, or the online students, at least at some point, they had to figure out how to get online.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed that they even struggle how to get through some of their how to submit something onto the platform.
Basically getting started.
Yeah.
And LMS platforms are in all business. I mean, a lot of big companies have a sort of a learning management system just for onboarding. And so you understand the way the company works.
Mm-hmm.
So I think learning technology, even though it's difficult, you like to encourage it because we live in a tech world.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
From texting to
I mean, like Dan said,
paying bills.
Yeah,
Sure.
any job that you have now is going to have some form of technology.
Some level, yeah.
At some level.
Even if it's doing your timesheet.
And most of it is becoming more advanced. So that is something we have to have.
So this is a little bit off, what we were planning to ask, but it just made me think. As far as the technology thing, I always wonder this. I wonder this at every level, but I really wonder it at the college level. We've talked to other teachers from elementary to high school about social media and the things that are constantly calling for your attention, and how, even at home, most families get lost in their phones on the couch or whatever. I just wonder, especially with adults that are coming back to school, do you see a sort of a challenge with people being having a hard time focusing? Because I read a lot about how the internet and these devices are fundamentally changing our brains, not necessarily for the better. But I just wonder, as a teacher, do you see more distractions? Do you see people it's harder for people to focus, and maybe it doesn't affect adults as much?
Well, maybe if you're talking about learning, the older the adult is in my classroom, the less they look at their phone.
Right. I was going to say probably the better.
However, many of us have our phones sitting here waiting.
Looking over. Yeah, exactly.
And for instance, today I had 2 students get up and say, I got to take a call, and walk out. And so, because I think, their business is running through their phone, and they're trying to fit school in, which, by the way, is a challenge with the adults.
I did it as an adult.
Many adults who come back, they have families. At Everglades University, we have alternative degrees that are unusual and good.
Sure.
One of them is construction management. So many of the people who come in have worked a 60 or 70 hour week and they're tired.
Of course.
And they're still coming.
And they're still coming.
And I've got very much respect for that. That kind of ties into the type of business that I do. I work for an engineering firm. But it's kind of refreshing to hear, though. It's kind of what I expected, because there's evidence that for younger kids, with everything just begging for your attention, or those emotional pulls that we've heard about, that, we've noticed that some children just almost can't sit still at all. They're just so used to that instant gratification of a device that it's made a challenge. I was just curious if you'd seen that in adults.
I think some of those people haven't quite hit the school. Some of my younger students. However, the younger students, because Everglades has a big mix, people who have come right out of high school to retired people.
Yeah.
So in the current class I have probably a mix of 30-somethings, and I have someone who is so surprised that nobody knows what APA is or how to do a reference, because didn't you learn that in high school? And because
20 years ago.
he's 2 years out of high school.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all fresh in his brain.
But I will say about him, and many who are young like him, they put their phones away because I think they had to put their phones away in school.
So they're used to
They put their phones away at school.
Yeah.
It's the 30-somethings who don't put it away their phones.
Right. They're never
Right,
used
Angie?
to having to.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I had to leave class many times for contractor calls.
Yeah.
Oh,
when we were doing the home construction.
Yes.
Oh, you should have passed off to me. I guess I wouldn't have been able to answer either.
No. I was taking on the brunt of it,
So, Michelle, let me ask you this. If there was something you could change about your own educational journey, what would it be?
I would tell myself to stay in English and graduate.
Oh, yes.
And keep going until I had finished maybe a doctoral program.
Is that something you look forward to doing in the future?
I'd like to. We'll see.
Okay. That's a lot of work, right?
And it's costly.
Oh, yeah. The money factor is always a big thing when it comes to higher education. As I'm noticing as I'm getting towards the end here, looking at the old credit report, going, oh yeah.
And then it doesn't help when you've got me over here going, and I'm super supportive of all this. But this is my
brain,
my logical brain, and I go, how much is the whole, college? What do you think you're going to owe in student loans? And then I go, well, how much does that position make in a year? And she's like, I can't go there.
I can't.
I just have to finish.
Yeah. This is why I didn't think about it when I started school, or would not have gone.
No,
if you think
don't
about
do that.
It too
You know
much,
what I say?
Not go.
I say, think about it like a mortgage almost.
Yeah.
So
That's what my daughter says that.
Yeah.
But it's more, I think school for me is more than that. I'm so glad I went back. I'm so glad I went back and finished. It helped me to grow my mind and grow how I think about the world. And I think that's important.
Well, we talk about evolution. One more point about the mortgage, though. What I meant by that was almost everyone has to pay a mortgage. I meant that in like a positive way. Just think of it as a mortgage and then just keep going. Don't start picking it apart. Just know you got the payment and move on. As far as evolution, though, we talk about one of the philosophies I have, and I know Angie agrees with me, is that throughout our lives, all the way until we die, if we're 100, I believe that as you get new information, whether it be in science or math or history or English or whatever, when new things are discovered, you have to stop and consider the new evidence and see if it changes your thinking or what you think is the way things work. If you don't do that, maybe it doesn't change. But if you don't stop to take in new information, there's a certain generation or maybe a certain sector of our generation and other generations that are just, this is what I was taught, this is what I believe, this is what it is, and they ignore anything else. And to me, there's no sort of evolution of thinking. So the idea that you can go back to school, the idea that you can change your career, the idea that you can change your thinking and become something or someone totally different. I totally agree with that across the board.
We used to tell our kids that school was life and life is school.
Yes.
And if you stop learning, you die.
You stop growing.
Yeah.
You die. Sure.
So,
Well, hopefully some of them didn't take that the wrong way. Like, I got to learn something today because this is the day I'm going to go if I don't.
yeah, I think
Give me a
they got the gist. Well,
Yeah.
that would have been okay.
Yeah, because it would have kept them going.
But in a sense, I agree with you because the people that I know, it's almost sad to me, and the people that I know that won't accept any new information about anything or even consider it. It's
They're very stagnant.
you just become a dinosaur. I mean, at some point,
kind of.
and we have to force ourselves to rethink what we think we know when we read something new or whatever.
So you instilled. It sounds like you instilled a love of learning in your kids, or a fear of it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Still deciding which one.
I finished grad school with my daughter, my oldest daughter.
So that's what I want to talk about. How have you instilled that love of education? And that's one of the things that I remembered about us talking about was that you and your daughter graduated together.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
She was considering going to get her master's degree, and I had completed my bachelor's degree a year prior in English. And I had been trying to see if I would make any more money. Back to that home money conversation.
Yeah.
Got to make it.
But
live,
it was the same. And so I was closing in on a year. A year had been my goal. And so when she was considering it, I was like, well, let's do it together. And so that's
how
what
cool
we
is
did.
that?
Yeah.
We are both kind of, let's do something quick, people. So we picked a 15-month program, which was accelerated, but fun.
So accelerated meaning lots of work.
Yes.
But you had each other for support. So that was, that probably made it go a little quicker too and made it a little easier on you.
And now, not all my kids, my second, went to Full Sail a little bit, but now is a computer programmer and pretty much self-taught.
Oh, I love it.
My third went to school, and now she's with her husband in Colorado and expecting her second.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So some of our kids are still in school. We had a daughter just graduate from law school.
Oh, wow.
So she's kind of young for it, but we had, since we homeschooled, it gave us the opportunity for those who wanted
Let's get ahead.
to dual enroll.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so for her, she's kind of a type A personality. I always say that she has all the energy for the whole family.
Yeah.
And then there's the rest of us. But she was able to get her AA degree. But my youngest was able to get some college too, and it's helped.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
I think I encouraged Dan's youngest, because the other one just graduated. But I told her, I said, you can dual enroll.
Florida will pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get it under your belt.
The other thing too is I encourage the kids to, my son is just now going into college. He's going to he could have gone straight to university. He's going to do a community college to start, which I think is admirable because
I think it's great.
he doesn't know what he wants to do. Yeah. And my philosophy about that is that I wouldn't expect that you do. I mean, some careers, as we said, earlier is, engineers, doctors, whatever. There are people that just know teachers sometimes.
Yeah. Usually
they just
from
know.
a young age too. It seems like they know that is kind of their career path.
Right. And I didn't know when I was 17, 18, and I just kind of fell into things. And I would rather my kids go to school and be introduced, or college, and be introduced to things that maybe they didn't even know were going to be of interest to them. They may find their passion there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's perfectly okay to take it slow, figure out what you really want to do, rather than what most people in this country do, really probably in the world, is they work a job that they're not crazy about because it pays the bills, and they're afraid to take the leap that you're talking about and sort of reinvent themselves and go back to college and change it. So I'd rather them.
It's scary because it's nice to eat too.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Not
but
live
I think,
on ramen for
that's a great point. That is my point with the kids, though. While you don't have the responsibilities now, figure it out. Don't go plowing in. Don't get pressured in. Go figure it out and make sure you're passionate about it. Because if you're passionate about being a garbage man, you're going to do really well at it, and you're going to make good money.
And be happy.
Yeah, the most important thing is to be happy. So we're wrapping up, but as we are wrapping up, I wanted to ask, are there any organizations or charities or community events that you volunteer your time at or that you would like people to become aware of?
Well,
See, that's part of us, you know.
I know.
Reaching out to the community
Yeah.
there.
So, like I said, I do volunteer at University of the People, but that's online.
Yeah, that's okay. That's and that is. Tell me exactly what that is. That's people all over.
Well, all over the world. So pretty much, I just told my class this today too. In every class, I have at least one Syrian refugee, and the stories are heart-rendering.
Yes.
When they write their papers and whatnot.
So without going off the deep end, what is the University of the People?
It's a college that offers educational platform to people who might not otherwise be able to go to college. It's not regionally accredited, so it has a national accreditation. Regionally accredited college is the better of the accrediting bodies that you can have. But it is accredited, and it does enough to hopefully better people's situation.
Yeah. I was going to say improve their lot.
Yeah, healthcare management's one of the fields. IT is another field. Business is another field. They have small amount of fields.
Okay.
So,
and it seems like it's fields that are advancing. That
Guaranteed
are popular.
placement almost.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Oh, that's
Wow, that's great.
I just recently, and I'm still exploring, just joined the International Women's Writing Guild.
Oh, exciting.
I love that. I write, so I love that.
I'm excited. I had the opportunity to edit one of our students' final publication. One of our students at Everglades, actually.
Oh, cool.
He's an older man, and he's a pastor. And he just wrote a mentorship manual on helping prisoners matriculate into society.
Wow.
So I think it's the first of many manuals that he will maybe write.
Very cool.
So that was very exciting.
No doubt.
That is exciting.
And
have I heard you mention that you're a writer before?
I'm trying. I'm an aspiring writer.
Okay, an aspiring writer.
I have written the rough draft of a children's book, and my daughter, who is an artist, a different daughter, I haven't talked about her much. She's, I think she's about 2/3 or maybe a little more done of the painting. She's doing the paintings.
Oh, how great is
And
that?
what's really great is the painting she showed me. I'm like, wow, it's better than I thought. You know, I can't.
You had a vision, but it wasn't like that amazing, right?
So are you going to look for a publisher, or are you going to self-publish?
No, I'm not sure. That's one of the reasons I joined the
Writers Guild.
The Writers Guild. I do have a part of a book written. I'm still working through it, so we'll just leave it at that.
We'll save it until you're ready to introduce it.
Yeah, let us know when you're ready, and we'll blast it and let everybody know.
One thing I learned, though, talking about your passions, when I was editing Kenyatta's book, I thought, wow, I really like editing. I like it.
That's what my editor says too.
I think because it goes along with being able to help people find their dreams.
Yeah.
And
that could be.
I think I might look into that a little bit more.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah, that's
Well, what does it say about me because I hate editing? I mean, it's my own work, but I hate editing. It's my least favorite part of the writing.
I don't
process.
like editing my work either.
Maybe it's that.
It's painful. It's like when you have to cut it, it's like cutting your hand off.
Right.
So,
it really is.
It's like writing the whole book again, honestly.
And the other thing is, if you're very critical of yourself, when you go back and go, why would I write that like that? And I'm going to start all over again. And
there's a very
that's just more work.
creative flow to writing that I love. When you got to go back and start picking it apart, it doesn't feel very creative anymore.
No.
And you're right. I read it and go, I would have wrote that different. You if you get in your own head, you'll rewrite the whole thing again. So, but I never thought about that. Maybe it's because editing your own work is no fun. Editing other people's work is because you're helping them, and it's not self-serving. Maybe,
right?
That was a great answer.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us. This was really fun.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Welcome. We didn't take too much of your time, right?
It was very fun.
Good.
Yeah.
All
Agree.
right.
I like to talk too.
So do we. Absolutely. Trust me. We'll talk your ear off if you let us.
I know.
Here.
That's why we have to have questions, because if not, it's like 2 hours later and we're like, oh, crap.
We'll drift.
Oh, God.
We still drift a little.
We learned this after the first couple. We're like, okay, yeah, maybe we want to, go do something else that day. That we just talk for 3 hours.
And I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I don't know what the target number is, but it seems like about an hour is what most of them are. And I don't know if that's because people look at a 2-hour podcast and go, I'm not listening to that. It's, which is weird because podcasts they're like Netflix for audio.
Yeah.
You can listen to 5 minutes today, 10 minutes next week, or the whole thing.
I hate that.
Really? You hate to interrupt it.
I want to listen to it all or not at all.
Oh,
yeah.
see? Maybe that's why an hour is a good point. All right. So we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you for your husband for waiting.
That's a good guy.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with the information station. Hang tight. Hey, guys, I've had lower back problems for most of my adult life, and so I've had some mixed results with different chiropractors, some not so good. So I've always been a little skeptical of that. That is, until I met Dr. Christina at Revival Chiropractic. Now, the first time you go into Revival Chiropractic, they'll walk you through the process they use. It's a very specific science-based, neurological-based protocol they use. And after going there for a year and having both of my teenagers go there for a year and Angie go there for a year as well, we've either seen a complete recovery from or a dramatic reduction of things like chronic headaches, chronic migraines, even stomach issues, and some other upper spinal issues that we have in the family. So they have very affordable plans. Dr. Christina, Dr. Brittany, we call them Dr. C and Dr. B, as well as the other staff, Jules, Savannah, and Alexi. Everyone is great. The place is amazing. They do food drives throughout the year and school supply drives throughout the year, client appreciation events. They give back to the community. The place is great. Check them out. Revival Chiropractic. Go to revivalchiropractic.com to find out more.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the information station. What a great interview that we had with Michel Sanden.
Indeed.
I want to thank her again for taking time out of her busy teacher life to come and sit down with us. That was pretty cool.
Yes, it was.
It's pretty cool for me to interview one of my college teachers.
Sure.
And kind of hear a little bit more about their personal life as well. I mean, we hear some in class, but it's cool to hear that. So thanks to her for helping to make our hashtag Month of Teachers complete, rounding out all the different grade levels.
Yeah.
So one of the things we touched on when we were talking to Michelle was how people are going back to college for some the first time at an older age.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. That's what I did.
I know. It's interesting because I guess it's a developing trend, but that's what I did too so many years ago.
Yeah. So people over 25 or those that have children at home are the ones that are actually enrolling in college classes. And it accounts for nearly 74% of America's undergraduate students.
Wow.
So it's really largely due to the fact that we have an advance in technology because it allows people to work from home. Number one, a lot of schools offer online classes so they can, raise a family at home or work and then kind of schedule their online classes around their regular jobs and stuff.
You mean because they're working from home, they can also do college from home?
Well, if it's like a stay-at-home mom with kids or, somebody that works a full-time job, they can actually do their college courses at night
online.
When they come home.
Yeah.
So there's lots of schools that offer this online platform now.
Absolutely.
There's some schools that are purely online.
Yeah.
Like there's no actual campus.
Oh, I know.
So I think that's why we see such this huge increase of people that are saying, yeah, I could take that on because I don't have to show up somewhere physically at a certain time.
Indeed. And part of it also too is there's a concern with the working class now that they're going to be losing their jobs due to the advances in technology. The rise in AI is honestly expected to continue to either dramatically change or replace jobs altogether. We talked about this at Autodesk University a couple of years ago, like I was just mentioning in the beginning of the show. But this is truly more the case, or especially the case when it's jobs that require less formal education. So maybe if you're working in a assembly line or you're doing certain types of labor They even are starting to develop robots that can put things on shelves and take them off shelves. And
so people really need to learn how to operate those.
Right. So what I found, there's a little bit of a fear in certain people around, I'm going to lose my job to AI and a computer. And while I do think there's some validity to that, everything I've really read or learned about it is it's not so much losing your job. It's if you don't do something about it, sure. But that's where this education thing comes in because
that's where that evolution comes in, evolving.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've seen cases where maybe a guy worked in the factory floor and now he is managing the software that runs the machines that run the factory floor. And it's not that complex. 10, 15 years ago, these things were very daunting and intimidating. And there is an older generation that feels like it's scary, computers and all that. But more and more people are starting to discover how easy it is and user-friendly it is to learn some of these applications that sort of allow you to evolve, like you said. So I look at it more like an evolution, like you said, and less like the fear of losing your job, because computer replacements potentially are supposed to replace up to 47% of those types of jobs over the next 5 to 10 years. That's a huge amount of jobs being replaced. Yeah. But I think you think about it like that will allow me to do a better, more advanced job with a higher skill set and potentially a pay increase.
Yeah.
So think of it that way.
Yeah, that is a great way to think of it. And even, moving excuse me, like especially with like construction jobs, because I think that's probably one of the fields that people are like, man, a lot of these, these machines are going to be taking over what I do for a living.
Sure.
Our school, the Everglades University, has like a construction management degree, which means that you learn how to manage in that field.
Yeah.
So, evolve yourself.
Yeah.
You can do it. There's
indeed
people that come from all different backgrounds that are attending school at an older age, all different educational levels too.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think you have to stay motivated.
Yeah, you do. Now it's hard work. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I know.
But the reward is worth it. I mean,
agree.
When I was writing my paper the other night and kind of finalizing the end point, the final paragraph, I cried. And I don't know if I cried because it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
It was like 3 years of my life.
Sure.
Or that I'm putting a message out there of everything that I've kind of learned and brought into this one offering.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that means you're into
it. I cried,
it,
y'all. Yeah.
You're passionate, that's for sure.
Yes, I am passionate about it. So Michele mentioned that she works at a really, or volunteers her time at a really cool place. It's called the University of the People.
Yep.
And it's a online school.
Right.
It's the world's first nonprofit, tuition-free, accredited American university.
Wow.
Yeah. And one of the things that she mentioned is that she even has some refugees from over in the east, over in the east that actually are on there getting an education in things like the health field or technology, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
It is.
So it helps qualified high school graduates overcome constraints such as financial, geographical, or social that's keeping them from having a college education.
Right.
Right. It also offers associate and bachelor's degree programs in business administration, computer science, and health science, kind of like I mentioned.
Yep.
As well as a master's degree program in business administration and education. So think about that. I mean, people that normally would not have access to this are able to get these degrees and make real impact and changes in their area of the world.
Wow.
I think that's really cool.
I do too.
Yep. So there is an application process, but no pre-entrance exam requirements whatsoever. So this really, sometimes those exams that you take, those entry exams going into college can be very intimidating, especially for somebody that's older and hasn't been to even high school in 20 plus years.
Sure.
You're like algebra, English, like, oh my gosh, I don't remember all this stuff. So I think this is pretty cool that they do that because that can that can make you think you're not ready for it.
Yep.
And a lot of times when you have that motivation, you are ready for it. You just need people to kind of guide you in the right direction.
Indeed. And I think that goes along with what you said about sort of helping them overcome those constraints, because I would think those, quote, social constraints are exactly what you're talking about there. Where I can't do it. I've been doing this plumbing thing forever or whatever it is. And then they...
Yeah. And plumbers know so much math, it'd blow your mind.
Yeah. Well, I know, but it's not what I meant. But yeah, I meant just I've been doing like this labor job forever and I can't go back to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So that's interesting. I also wanted to mention the Women's International Writing Guild, which Michelle mentioned. And of course, because I write, I found that especially interesting. It was founded in 1976, and it's made up of people from all different backgrounds. Essentially, it's a place where all women writers are made to feel welcome, inspired, empowered, and they sort of share their skills. They talk about resources. They mentor each other. It is a membership publication. They have a conference in the summer. They have regional conferences. It's essentially a place for publishing resources, sort of making friends with other women authors. Again, this is a women-only thing, which might seem weird that I looked into it, but I just think as an author, seeing where other authors are supporting each other is huge, because that's been a big part for me to feel like this is something I could do. And it's been fun to talk to other authors and kind of try to give them the same vibe and say, there's no reason you can't do this.
Yeah.
But it's a place where they do, professional writing guidance, developing the craft, which is hugely important.
Yeah. And I think they have the writing guild for everybody.
There's a writers guild for sure.
Yeah, they have one. Yeah.
But she just mentioned that she was a member of the Women's International Writing Guild. So
because she started a children's book.
She did, and I'm excited to see it come out.
Yeah, and her daughter's illustrating it. Yeah. And I thought that's so cool.
So
Keep
did
it a family affair.
I know.
And really education, we talked to her about education is in the family. One of her daughters teaches at the school that I'm at as well.
Yeah.
And her other daughter, who's only 22 or 23, is going to start teaching there. She graduated law school at like 22 years old.
Wow.
Super smart.
Yeah.
Super smart. So
did she mention that in the interview?
She did.
Oh, cool. All right. Well,
and if she didn't, then it's when I was talking to her afterwards. So there you go. Little tidbit, people.
All right. Well, I think that wraps the show this week, guys. Please give us a call at 407-490-3899 or email us at feedback@fineanddangy.com. Thoughts, issues, questions, suggestions, or just to say hi. And
yeah. And don't forget those hashtags, help more people, month of teachers. And the most important one for coming up in September is hashtag Turn a Apopka Gold.
Yeah.
Remember, we have the Golden Warrior Festival on September 7th. That's going to be in Apopka at the Beef O'Brady's.
Can't wait.
And everybody, we're trying to turn Apopka gold. So get your gold ribbons on your doors. We have that sign that's still available. Please email us if you're interested in ordering one of those.
Yep.
And we are going to make it official.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to us early in the morning on our end. Don't know what time it is where you are, but have a great day, no matter what time you're listening.
Yes.
And remember, at the end of the day, it's all fine and dandy.
It's going to be pretty easily to edit.
You know what? I figured that all you have to do is look at the thing, and whenever it speaks like that, it means I was cracking up at something, and you know that